All right, how's it going, everyone? Gamma Fighter here, coming at you with another Sylvaneth video. And in this video, we're doing a live stream. How fun is that? So, how's everybody doing? 500 subscribers, which is awesome. Big fan of that. That means I can be monetized, but don't worry, guys. I'm not going to let the fame get to me. Okay, I'm still going to be the same old Gamma Fighter. I'm not moving out to a streamer house in LA or anything. And at least not yet. Although if you know someone at Raid Shadow Legends, have them hit me up. I am open to sponsorships. But yeah. Anyways, so you might be wondering why I'm doing a live stream. So I was thinking about doing something like a end of the year kind of talking about the stuff that I painted this year and showing that because people were asking about my color scheme and my army and stuff like that. So I thought it'd be fun to have something about that. But then I was like, well, I could take pictures of it and then screen share and show my pictures on the screen, but that's kind of lame. And then I was like, well, I could do a video of my models. And then I was like, well, I may as well just do a live stream then and see how that goes. So we got people popping in here. Hey there, Appleberry, welcome. Welcome to the Wargrove. And plus, I've never done anything like this. So I thought it would be fun to see what it's like. So it's pretty exciting, pretty fun stuff. So I'm going to get talking like I was going to tell you guys a little bit about me, a little bit more of a kind of a personal video. And plus, it's Christmas Eve. So some people have, family over and stuff going on, but some people are just kind of hanging out. So maybe you're painting or reading or something. I don't know. So I thought it would be fun to kind of chill together. But I don't know if you guys are familiar at all with Flesh and Blood. So this is kind of where my Warhammer journey starts. I used to play Flesh and Blood at my local game store, or at work, yeah. And then I moved away from my local game store, had a baby. So my local game store, it was literally like 5 minutes away. And now it's like 30 something minutes away. So it's way harder to get there. And we had a baby, and I felt kind of bad leaving my wife home alone all night. Even though it was just once a week, I would usually go. It just didn't, it wasn't great. So, and, in new house, new neighborhood and stuff. So I started looking into, so this is my, the first time I did a draft, I pulled Tectonic Plating. It's a legendary card, which is it's one of the higher rarity stuff. And it's also for Guardian. Guardian ended up being my favorite class. And so I had a lot of fun with that. But then I was looking for stuff I could do alone, so I could do it at home, some like a new hobby, and then I could do it at home. And if my wife needed help with the baby or anything like that, I'd be right there. So I actually didn't start with Warhammer, but I started with BattleTech. So you guys may have heard about BattleTech. I used to play MechWarrior 2 Mercenaries way back in the day. Like, I don't even know how they had the technology back then to be able to run 3D effects and stuff like that. It was actually not bad for how old it was. But yeah, it was a first-person mech game. You're in the mech, piloting it and everything. And even though I had no idea what I was doing, it was a lot of fun. And so when I found out about the tabletop game, I guess I always knew about the tabletop game. But I wasn't interested back then in painting and stuff like that. Like, that seemed like a real hard obstacle to overcome, which is ironic because then that's exactly what drew me to it later. And then as I learned about the rules of the tabletop game and stuff, there's a lot of nostalgia for the mechs and the weapons and the way that the tabletop game is translated into the first person MechWarrior game. It was bringing me back to those days. And so I started getting into that. It's got a really cool system. And I always loved the way that they used heat as a resource in the video game, and that, there was ammo, which didn't use that much heat, but then you could run out of it. And then there was energy weapons, but they used a lot of heat, but they didn't require ammo and stuff. So it was a cool kind of balancing mechanic. And then in the tabletop game, it's even cooler because you can push your heat higher, and it gives you some negative effects, but there's different trade-offs to it. I think that's a really cool mechanic for a tabletop game. I really like it. But so this is how I started learning how to paint, though, and this is my favorite lance. It's actually pretty cheap to get into BattleTech if you haven't looked into it. It's pretty cool, but I know you guys like Sylvaneth and Age of Sigmar and stuff, but this is just to show you where I came from. So these aren't exactly the first models that I painted, but they're among some of the first. Went with kind of just a military olive scheme with some like tan accents and things like that to just break up the monotony and stuff. And actually, like they turned out pretty good. The BattleTech models don't have as much detail as the Warhammer ones, but they still took to just dry brushing and just the basics of applying a good base coat and stuff. There's definitely stuff I could touch up and stuff now that I'm more experienced, but things I would have done differently. But I was really happy with how they turned out, and it wasn't that hard. And then I kind of got addicted to painting. But of course, if you're on YouTube, you know that learning how to paint stuff, especially miniatures, then you're going to be directed to Warhammer stuff like all the time. And so that's where I learned about Warhammer. I knew of Warhammer 40K, of course, in the zeitgeist and stuff. And I always thought Space Marines kind of reminded me of Buzz Lightyear. So I couldn't really bridge that gap to like thinking that they're actually cool. They just seemed kind of lame. And then I also played StarCraft, and the Marines are like the weakest unit in StarCraft. So it was kind of hard to have the Space Marines translate into something like super cool like they are in the lore. I did kind of start to like the Grey Knights, and I do still like the Grey Knights. If I was going to collect any Warhammer 40K stuff, it would definitely be the Grey Knights. You just change the Marines look dopey, but then you change the helmet to like a knight helmet, and they look super cool. And I kind of like the Dark Angels as well for that same reason. Plus, they're green, and green's like by far my favorite color. So that helps a lot. But yeah, that kind of monastic robe style of thing is pretty cool. But I never was tempted to like actually get into 40K. And and the thing with the Grey Knights is that they're still squatty. They're all still the tiny versions, and they don't have Primaris versions. So every time I even thought about like buying a kit, I was like, yeah, but they're so small. Like they got to get the big ones, and maybe I'll think about it. So, but then eventually I came across the Sylvaneth, and that's when I kind of understood Age of Sigmar and like looked into it more, because the Sylvaneth models, of course, you guys know, are just insane. They're cool in a way that like nothing else really is, even in Age of Sigmar. At least for me, like it just kind of hits a point for me that nothing else really compares. And even I have a second and favorite faction, but like they're really second and third favorite faction, but they're very far behind Sylvaneth. It's like not even fair to compare. So I think with that, yeah, we can get into it. So this is first I'm gonna show off my dryads. Got a bunch of them here, and this is my color scheme, of course, for the kind of the bark and the tree type of elements of my Sylvaneth. I did think about this for like a long time, and I'm actually really happy because I didn't find this color scheme anywhere else, and came up with it on my own. But I use I really like the sugar maples, and like autumn's my favorite season and stuff, and love sugar maples in the autumn. Just going to a park just to see the trees and stuff like that. Just staring at trees while I'm driving. Really love it. Autumn is fantastic, and and love going on hikes and nature walks and stuff like that. And so I really wanted to emulate that. And one of the things I noticed when I started kind of looking, I don't know if you want to say critically, but at trees, is I noticed that the bark is actually gray, and so I wanted to emulate that on my color scheme by having gray be my top layer. And Here we go. And so I started with, and then the other thing is I wanted to have the red and orange leaves. So I wanted the bark to really contrast against that. So I chose like cooler toned browns as the base coat. And then I dry brushed another, a lighter cool tone brown on top of that. And then I finished with the gray. So I use GW paints. Um, and it's Steel Legion Drab as the base, and then Baneblade Brown dry brush on top of that, and then Ulthuan Gray on top of that. And I was really happy with how it turned out. I tested it on a Dryad. I think it might have even been this one because I also tested coloring in the eyes. That I didn't do that on very many others, and I was really happy with how it turned out. So the other thing you might notice is I've got a little bit of basing going on. I've never been interested in basing, but now I've been thinking about going into the store, the local store, and playing games and stuff. And I was like, I should really have my bases done. So I started with this. I did some static grass and some rocks and texture paste as the or paint as the dirt and stuff like that. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, but I realized this is not what like a forest floor looks like. So this is like a meadow, so they'd be like going out of the forest. So I did see, I forget if it was Matt's Hobby Hour or Brushstroke Painting on YouTube. That's where I got this idea from. They have one that's like a really just looks fantastic. But then I realized, yeah, it doesn't really match my scheme. So I've been trying this. I'm still experimenting with it, but I have a mix of like tea leaves that I'm trying out. And this one looks reasonably good. And on the bigger models, I can put like rocks and things like that to add interest. Experiment with the flower tufts still, stuff like that. Vincey V, of course, has really good basing videos, but they're just so dramatic. The bases there are like way beyond what I'm trying to do. I really do want something simple. The base I've always felt was like the least interesting part, but I do want to finish them for it to be complete. So I'm going to load up the next unit here. I'm going to grab some tree revenants, and that'll kind of be the big reveal for my the color scheme of the spirit portion. Where's my, here he is, little champion guy. All right. So here we go. Here's the tree revenants revealing the color I'm using for my spirits. And so this is actually where my name Gamma Fighter comes from. I've always loved this neon green color, and I've always associated it with Gamma. And this is also a very old name too, so it's a little bit immature, but that's okay. I just kind of rolled with it. But I love this green, and I do like the way it turned out on these guys. I think on some of these I went a little heavy, so it doesn't look quite as ghostly. And definitely on some of my later ones, I just was not as careful, and they're pretty dark. But there's room to improve, things like that. But I do just love the way that it looks. It's very hard contrast against the more natural and subdued looking the bark and the leaves and stuff like that. So there's the old banner, and also I'm using this accent purple that I just love how it matches with it. I was looking at all the different kind of contrast paints and things like that, and I was like, that purple is going to look awesome, and it did. So I do like it. I've got it in the gem on the banner there as well. So yeah, I'm definitely not the best painter in the world. I work in business and I work with numbers, and this is my first like artistic endeavor since having to do art in school. So this is really not to show off that I'm like such a good painter, but it's really that this is the whole fun of it for me is learning how to do different kinds of stuff. And the good thing about the Sylvaneth is if you mess up with the spirit color and you get some like splash over, then you can just say that's OSL. It's just the glow coming off of the spirits there. I also like was experimenting with the like power sword type of a thing. I did not do very good. The best one I ever did was actually I primed a sprue and then tried to practice on that for my first one, and that was the best one I ever did. I actually still have it in a box somewhere, but ever since then it's just been sort of just okay. But that's okay. It's all part of learning and stuff like that. There's always stuff I could touch up and tweak on these, but it's so much better to just keep going and keep working on new models and learning more as you go. And hopefully my stuff will just keep getting better then that way. So next, I want to show. Let me see. Sorry, I got stuff off camera. Here we go. So I've got, well, I may have just shown by accident. I got some magnetized bits over here. Gonna just assemble the next one. So next I'm gonna show my Tree Lord. So here's the Spirit of Durthu variant. Yeah, I didn't finish the leaves on the head, but I'm also very happy with how this turned out. Yeah, so the sword is magnetized, comes off. Still more like edge highlighting, maybe some dry brushing to do on the sword. But yeah, I just get excited and want to keep moving on to the next one. I do have that balance between like wanting to be a perfectionist and going back, and I could spend another 2 hours on every single model just touching stuff up. But then I also have the thing that makes me go like, well, I kind of want to paint the next thing. So yeah, Tree Lords are definitely a big undertaking. When I finished this guy, it was really fun. He had some new parts on here that aren't on like the Tree Revenant. So like the inner bark, like on his neck there, I went with the Skeleton Horde, and that looks almost exactly in person. It looks almost exactly like a maple wood or maple lumber, which is perfect. And then these like the elbow thing, and like he's got armpit hair. Yeah, so I wasn't sure what to do with that, and I went with kind of this I think it's Sigor brown, but it's a sort of trying to look like dried vines or something. I'm not sure. I think it looks all right. It's not a big focal point or anything. It's nothing too crazy, but I do think everything came together really well. And as I said, he is magnetized, so I can take the head off, I can take the hands off, and then I can put the Tree Lord Ancient head on, and put on the old staff. Okay, it's a little too high. I can just, yeah, there we go. Scoot him on back. So now we got a Tree Lord Ancient. I did the beard in that same color as the like armpit hair. It's not done. That wasn't enough. I thought that would be good, but it needs more work. More than just the one contrast paint there to really bring out the details. There's like the bead on his beard. I do have to color that in too still. And then I do really like how the staff turned out. The goal was to make it look like a birch tree, like he just kind of plucked and transformed a birch tree out of the ground. And that's how it turned out to me, at least. I think it looks really good. And then I didn't finish the top. There's like mushrooms zip tied to the staff. So I wasn't sure what color, because there's also mushroom on the Tree Lord's body. I wasn't sure on that either. So I've been thinking about that, and then I just kind of been working on other stuff and haven't been thinking about it as much anymore. So at some point I do just have to try one kind of a color. I was thinking of something like a reddish brown that like a shelf mushroom, reddish brown that won't detract too much and it'll look very natural, and you might not even notice it at first, like just to kind of be low key with it. So there's that. Then the Tree Lord, regular Tree Lord version. These Tree Lord kits are like way too expensive to just be only building them one way. Now, of course, because it's Tree Lord, I could just build it as Spirit of Durthu, and that would have been fine. But I did want to magnetize it. Oh, and the other thing about this, I got this secondhand. So um, the pose does not work for the magnetization for the tree lord. The vines are kind of going into the ground. I don't think that would be too big of an issue in a game, but if it was, I could just take it off and it would be fine. They should be able to understand exactly what's going on. Um, but also the other thing is I do have another tree lord, so I could just do the other one in the tree lord version if I needed to bring a tree lord and a spirited earthy or something like that. So I haven't finished that model. This guy's right here. This one also was secondhand, so it was pre-assembled, and I partially unassembled it, and I do have to go through and clean up because the person I bought it from, I think they were pretty young and they didn't do a very good job of cleaning up the pieces. So, I did get a good deal on it. So that's the trade-off you have if you buy secondhand. But yeah, I just have to go through and clean those pieces up a bit more. And then I have to magnetize the tree lord's parts, and then I'll be ready to paint that one and everything. So that's my tree lord. And then next, everybody's favorite. This is one of the more recent projects I finished this year. The Kurnoth Hunters with great swords. So I am thinking about the. Oh, hello there. Very unwise. I'm glad to see you. Thank you so much for the kind words. Although your username makes me nervous about that, right? But so I built these guys as swords. I got a couple of boxes of Kurnoth Hunters, and I want to magnetize them, but I built one unit as swords because at least in this edition and for part of third edition, I really like the swords, and so I think I'm still going to really like the swords and not regret building these as just swords. But the good thing about doing it that way is I can poach the shoulder pads from these from the box that I didn't use, and I can use them on my other boxes. I was thinking about doing a video. I have to do a live video, I think, to go over it, and it would probably be a lot shorter than my other normal videos. But I mean, I'm not trying to make it as a YouTuber. I'm just I just like talking about the Sylvaneth. But there's not really good videos about how to magnetize Kurnoth Hunters, and one of the biggest issues is that you don't have enough shoulder pads. So what do? I think personally the solution is you build one how you want to build it, whether that's the bows, because a lot of people are using bows right now and they fill a different niche than the other two units, or if it's the swords because you just really like the swords, and I feel like I'm just going to use swords. And then you can steal the extra shoulder pads from that first box, and then you have enough on the other two to four boxes, the next 2 to 3 boxes maybe. You'll be able to steal the shoulder pads from that. So I think that would be helpful, but I don't know. It's kind of outside of my expertise. I definitely don't have a great lighting system for live videos, in case that wasn't apparent. So there's, yeah. But that's on my mind. So I built these guys as just with swords. I really like the swords. And one thing I didn't think about, it's very apparent here, is the branches on the Kurnoth Hunters. They're not actually a part of the bark. They're growing on top of the bark, and their roots are kind of digging into the bark. So it's like a sapling that's growing on top of them. I didn't really think about that until I got these guys, and I wasn't sure what to do. So you can see here, I did Skeleton Horde with the same Tesseract Glow is my spirit color for the Sylvaneth spirits, not like my spirit animal, but like for the Sylvaneth. And that sort of made a pale green a little too bright to be like natural looking. So I wasn't super thrilled with it. I don't hate it, but it didn't blow me away or anything like that. I did kind of want like a sapling bright green color. This one I tried the Caliban green with the lights and stuff. I think I tried edge highlighting and it did not look. I've been doing more of like a dry brush, so um, it looks very flat to me. It's also too dark, and the Caliban green is actually quite blue. There's quite a bit of blueness to it, and you can tell definitely compared to um, the sword, which is a very yellowish green. The Caliban green's quite blue. And then this was actually the first one I did, the champion. I did the same bark color, and I tried to sort of differentiate it. I used the Baneblade brown from the that I usually dry brush on the bark, um, and I tried doing some like glazing of green to represent like fresh growth and stuff like that. It doesn't translate, and it just looks like the plants are part of the bark, which kind of loses the fun and very neat looking details, I think. So I did end up getting, I forget the name of it because I haven't used it very much. I haven't finished another unit of Kurnoth Hunters yet. But for the next one, I do have a lighter green. It's a little more on the yellow side, and I think it will fit like this Caliban green, but fit in better with the color scheme. And actually, every time I do see the Caliban green one, I don't hate it. Like there's a part of me that's like, I'd really like that. It's just not right. So hopefully, when I finish the next one, then I'll be able to try that. I just got caught up on all the math of figuring out how to get enough shoulder pads for my Kurnoth Hunters and making sure I got the enough and the right ones as well. So speaking of which, here is one of them. As you can see, he does not have his shoulder pads on. I primed him anyways because I was just so excited. But this guy is special because he has magnets. So these guys are magnetized. So yeah, well, this is the first one that's fully magnetized that I got here. So putting on the scythe here. And then, oh, for the scythe, this one I did first, I think. And then I had a magnet like here in the arm. I think there is like an attachment point or something. And the idea was that, it's a pretty tight fit when you have to like bend the arms a little bit when you're sticking them on here. It might scuff the paint too once I'm finished painting it. So the idea was that I'd have the arms in 3 pieces, so it wouldn't have that tension there. It was horrible. It was awful. It did not look good. And actually, that's one of the reasons that I ended up doing the unit of swords was I needed to poach one of the sides anyways. But I mean, I was planning to do it anyway, but it was very fortunate that I was already planning to do the swords just as swords and not magnetize those because, yeah, if I needed them. I forget if this might be I did this a while ago. This might be the green that I was thinking of using, but that looks a little dark, but maybe it is. I'm not sure. I do have a lighter color I'm going to dry brush onto it. So that's it. And then for this year, for my Sylvaneth, here's the last one. And this one took quite a while. It's my Warsong Revenant. And there's a lot to take in with this guy. So, like I said, I'm not naturally an artistic person. So when I do stuff like I came up with the color scheme for my guys, I really carefully considered it and took my time with it. But then there's sometimes when I just don't think that much. So one thing is this guy has a big cloak, and I'm just gonna mute my phone here. I noticed that. Yeah, there we go. He's got a big old cloak, and when I saw it, I said, "Oh, those are leaves." So I have to paint them orange and red because that's my color scheme. And I was like halfway through when I realized like that's a lot of bright colors, and we already have a lot going on this top half with the bright green, the bright purple, the gold. There's a lot of brightness going on, and so for most of my Sylvaneth, the leaves are just a little touch of color, and on this guy, it was really a huge part of it, and kind of, if one might say, clashing with the spirit portion and those bright neon colors. Um, I just kind of kept going with it, and I ended up not hating it. There's still some things I can do. I can do a little dry brushing and stuff to bring out the texture on it. I did dull it down a bit with wash. Um, I ended up not hating it. I think on the tabletop, it doesn't look terrible. I think I think it's fine. But, I can always get another one and then paint that one with, like, green leaves or something like that to make it more subdued, if I want to. Yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with how it turned out, but I do understand it might not be for everyone. Um, but yeah, I did the same Caliban green on these magical vines that are coming out, and then I also dry brushed them instead of panel lining them or line highlighting them. So I think they turned out a little bit better, even though they're not perfect and probably not the perfect color for it, anyways. Um, but I still don't mind it one bit. And then these plants on the back, this is the color I will use for my Kurnoth Hunters on the next one, and see how that works on those leafy, viney things growing out of them, like saplings. Um, and I think it looks good on this plant, or on this, yeah, on these plants on this base for sure. And then, yeah, also did my fallen leaf type of a scheme, put a little flowers on there. Um, I do like how he turned out. I went with the purple skin for him because he's magical. Also, when I did see the way that the purple worked with my green, I like immediately wanted to paint something purple with green accents instead of green with purple accents, just to see how it looked. Um, I think it works for him. He's a wizardy guy, so it's fine if he's different from the others. Originally, I was just going to use it for Trika, which here she's not painted because she's not good. But maybe someday, maybe before too long, maybe we'll find out in a couple weeks that she's actually really good now. I will not hold my breath about that, but I was just going to do her and Spite Revenants in purple, and I think I still will use the purple. But I did it on him too. So it's a little bit of a continuity error, kind of, but I think it'll be fine because the spites are supposed to be a different color. Very unwise saying the quality went down. I do have bad internet, so that could be a problem. Sometimes the upload is just not good. Normally it doesn't matter, but if I'm going to be a streamer, then yeah. Oh, and then I do also like the sword on the back. I didn't think about it till I got to it, but I painted the blade in purple because obviously he's purple, so his blade should be purple. The other guys, they're green, so their blades are green. But then, like the hilt and the handguard, I painted those in gold, just like the ornament that he's got on his back. And I actually think it looked really pretty cool. And then also the gem I painted in green, and yeah, so the different offset. Yeah, I hope Drika turns out to be good. Yeah. She was my favorite unit to include in lists in third edition, meaning like I thought she was kind of an auto include for me because she worked so well with the rules of the army. Even though Lady of Vines was my favorite, just from like the way that she works and her mechanics are fun. So yeah, it would be nice if Draco was good again. But I do have some things for her. So she was also pre-built when I got her secondhand. So I've got like the bugs coming out of her. I got to put more of those in. I got to clean her up as well. And actually the what do they call it? Phylactery. The little oh, you're not gonna be able to see it in it's all gray and stuff. The thing it's in her leg, it holds her like soul pod or her lamentery or something. I don't even know what it's for. She's got a lamentery in her stomach, I think. But that was not even inside the leg. So I had to saw it, and then, or maybe I just clipped it. I do have a saw though. That's how I got the Tree Lord magnetized. But yeah, I had to take it off and then take her leg apart and then put it back in. So that I was pretty disappointed about because I could not get it in normally. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about my Arch Revenant, mostly because she's not exactly done. I think the purple and the green looks good on her shield, even though I did mess it up pretty badly. Um, I did make like quite a bit of mistakes. So there's like some places you can see where I covered up those mistakes. That's the one problem with like Tesseract Glow is a technical paint. It was before they had contrast paints, but it's still the same issue where if you paint white over it, like to fix a mistake, and then you paint the Tesseract Glow over it again, you can really see where it stands out where you made the mistake. So I made some mistake putting the white into the lines to be able to get that purple out, all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, she's such a cool model. I really wish she was good in game, but you can't have everything. And she's got a little bit of a leaf cloak too, and I did paint her before the Warsong Revenant, and I think that's what gave me boldness to just kind of go for it with Warsong Revenant. Appleberry running Drika in a list. Is that one built around Spite Revenants, or is it just is she just included? Here's the skull for her. This is also, I did this before the Warsong Revenant, and this is how I figured out how I wanted to do my skulls. My skulls on my Tree Lord are a little bit different, and they look a little fresher. So obviously I don't have her based yet. I forget what I needed to do. I did recently do, yeah, I think I just did the orange on the leaves, and I still have to do the red on there. And then she's pretty much done. Of course, you may notice that she's missing her wings, and that's because I messed up on her wings too. So I really wanted to have the purple veining on the wings, and this one's a lot more obvious. And the problem is it's a contrast paint, so it kept running off of the wing. So I painted the veins white, and then it went over them with the purple. And the problem was that the purple kept running off of the vein and getting onto the green. And when it does that, it just kind of darkens and muddies the green. So I went back over it with the white and stuff. And so it's a bit messed up. I'm still on the fence whether I'm going to strip it and just start over, or if I should just try to focus on cleaning it up. But the good news is I'm not going to be using the Arch Revenant in game anytime soon, so I don't have to worry about it too much. I don't have to make a decision super fast. So other than that, my next favorite faction is the Slaves to Darkness, and I got the free one from the Warhammer store, and I painted him, and it is so different from Sylvaneth that it was like a ton of fun. And I mean, I was already in love with the faction, but I was like, yeah, definitely. As soon as I get everything I need for my current army list for Sylvaneth, I'm definitely going to pivot to Slaves to Darkness. I already got a, yeah, you can see it there. I already got a early doing the thing, the pointing thing with my mouth open. Right there, I got an early Christmas present for the Chaos Warriors of Slaves to Darkness. So I got a whole box of these guys. This was like incredibly fun to paint, especially just because it was so different, and all the techniques and stuff. And I loved it. And also like being able to edge highlight, because you don't really get a chance with Sylvaneth. I mean, some people do edge highlight, but for me, it's like not even worth trying. You do a little on the swords and the weapons and things like that, but this guy is covered in edges. And so yeah, I use like the War Hipster. He's got a recipe. He's got a video where he tested a couple different ways of doing this kind of a black. And the one I really liked was it was Leviathan blue, which is a very dark blue color as a contrast paint. And then you put Black Templar over it, which is a rather pale or rather thin, transparent or translucent black. And then the blue kind of shows through. And I loved that, and I wanted to try it, and it worked really good. And then I used Fenrisian Gray and Uthuan Gray to edge highlight, which I really liked. Yeah, there's still like more highlighting and stuff I could do on the cloak, but I don't know if I had the parts. But anyways, really looking forward to that. Whenever I get around to it, for sure. There's never a dull moment. Do I only use contrast or technical paints? No. My bark. So I only use contrast and technical. I guess there is quite a bit. I use a pretty good mix. My base, or yeah, my bark is a base paint and then a layer paint and then another layer paint. It's Steel Legion Drab, Baneblade Brown, and then Uthwan Gray, dry brushed on top of the base. And then the leaves are Evil Sun Scarlet and Troll Slayer Orange from GW. So I'm trying to think. Like the purple is a contrast paint, the green is a contrast paint. The Heartwood stuff, I use Skeleton Horde for that. So I do use like a lot, a big mix, for sure. And speaking of edge highlighting, I did go into the Warhammer store and ask for some help with edge highlighting, and so of course I got the Space Marine model. Pretty bad, but I was using it as this is like, let's mess this up, and I, of course, the one they give you is painted blue, and I went ahead and painted this Caliban green since I had it, and I just like green better. And I do have the colors, the official colors they use for Dark Angels is Warpstone Glow and Moot Green, and I do have those too. So yeah, I did that, and I painted the shoulder pads gold, and I never got around to cleaning it up again and stuff like that. Painted the gun red. Obviously, I didn't highlight all of it. Tried to do a little bit of that muzzle burn color action. Went a little heavy on the end there, but it looks pretty cool. Obviously not done, but of course I'm not going to be playing with it either. And speaking of Caliban green, my third favorite faction is Stormcast Eternals, and partly to blame because I went into the GW store and painted one, and I already liked, Annihilators and Paladins. Like the big linebacker guys are so cool to me. And when I painted a Vindictor, I was like, okay, well, spears are pretty cool too. I do like spears. But yeah, I tried this one. I did get half a Dominion box for really cheap. And so just trying different color schemes on these guys. Kind of practice, kind of just for fun. I'm not planning on building a Stormcast army. Vindictors are not good right now anyways. But yeah, going with the kind of red color on the weapon wrap, similar to the Dark Angels. Or I don't know if it's all Space Marines. I know the Dark Angels, seems like their weapons have red on them. And yeah, of course, I like green. I really like the greens. Someone had a video where they paint, like they'll have like bases like this that have a texture on them, and they'll prime them in white and then paint them with all the contrast paint colors and show you like how it looks going on and how it looks when it's dried and stuff. And I'll watch those, and every time there's a green color, I'm like, ooh, I really like that color. It's like I'm just such a sucker for green. You can get me every time. Also, I'm not super happy. I use Liberator Gold. I'm not crazy happy with it. On this one in particular, I tried shading it with Gilliman Flesh, and it turned out like rose gold, which isn't terrible, but it's not what I was going for. So I'm trying to find. I'm not super invested in it, but it would be nice to be able to find a nice gold color. So this is one of my Vindictors. I think that's the latest one that I painted. Here's one of the earlier ones. He's got his shield done. I do like the way their shields look too, especially with my green color. This is where I started originally with the gold and then going with the Caliban green, which is why I have Caliban green on the shoulder pad. And I found out later too that this is the Gyran Guard have this very similar color scheme. I don't know if it's exactly Caliban green, but it looks super similar. So it works perfectly with me running Sylvaneth and then Stormcast Eternals as well. Yeah, purple wash. I have seen Matt's Hobby Hour, when he paints Seraphon, he does Druchii Violet, I think, as a wash on his gold, and it looks awesome. I should definitely try that out. Or I could probably thin. I use was it Magos purple for my purple, and I do have like contrast medium, I could probably thin that down and try that. And I should. Uh, and then here's the Vindictor Prime, pretty cool guy. Yeah, not much to say. I do, they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool guys. And then this is the last model I have here. I have another unit of tree revenants, but they're the same as the first one. And so yeah, here's then the Knight Vexillor with the very, very cool banner. The Storm Host guys. Is that what they're called? No. I'm not going to be able to think of it live. The guys who do Stormcast stuff, content on YouTube, their Discord had a contest to paint the Vexillor. I had a Vexillor from my Dominion box, of course, and even though I wasn't planning to win or anything like that, I still wanted to participate and have that camaraderie. So painted it up. It was like the hardest thing I'd painted thus far for the Stormcast. Definitely very involved. And this is another one where I could spend another 2 or 3 hours just on the banner easily. It doesn't look perfect, but for a guy who works in accounting, like, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm definitely a beginner at all this kind of stuff. So I did do the Tesseract glow in the runes on his sword. Very faintly shows up on camera there, but pretty cool. And this model is just very cool looking. Just that banner is super good. So yeah, that's all I have for my Warhammer stuff. Yeah, right here. And that's all I have for my notes too. So that's all I got. You guys got any questions or anything you want to share about what you guys are up to or anything like that? I don't have much planned right now. I do have another Kurnoth Hunter I'm working on. I think I was sticky tacking to see how the arms would fit. But yeah. The other thing is, I said the Annihilators are my favorite, but I was thinking about if I should convert my Dominion Annihilators to Grand Hammers and try and use an extra spear handle to try and extend the hammer to make it look like a Grand Hammer, and then reposition the arms maybe and stuff. And but now that's why I put this guy together. I didn't finish. He's still a little bit apart still. And but yeah, I think I'm going to end up pulling the trigger on that. It's another thing, and that's why I was so excited about Slaves to Darkness, because the Stormcast are also very different from the Sylvaneth, but they don't give me the same feelings when I painted that Chaos Warrior. That was something special. So I'm really excited about those. But so someday I'll get around to my Annihilators and stuff. And I think the shields are super cool too. I think that's probably the biggest motivation is bringing up that shield, getting it done, maybe putting some Tesseract Glow Lightning in there. That type of a thing. So my next project is either I'm going to finish the Kurnoth Hunters. I have 2 more boxes left. So I'll either finish those or I will get started on Draika, because now that I've seen how the Warsong Revenant looks with the purple skin and the green hair, I do really want to see how Draika will look. Oh yeah, the other thing I forgot to say, I played Warcraft 3 when I was young too. I never got into World of Warcraft, but I did play Warcraft 3, and this guy does look quite a bit like a night elf, but it's not copyright infringement. Okay, it's just a sample, or just getting ideas. So yeah, getting into Sylvaneth, Lady of Vines, and the Spearhead. That is awesome. The Spearhead is super good. The Lady of Vines looks incredible. I love her rules. I hope that we start to see some tournament lists where she's doing really well. I don't particularly care about how good the Sylvaneth are. They're just the best looking army, so that's why I'm interested in them. But it is fun. The rules make it fun. Actually, when I first saw Draika, I actually wasn't crazy in love with the model. back in third edition. But then when I learned her rules and stuff like that, I started to really like her. And then I um, started to like the model too, you know? So then I was really excited to get the model. And then before I finished, before I got to her, the rules changed. So hey, there you go. Sometimes it's how it happens. Um, but yeah, Lady of Vines should be really fun to play on the tabletop unless she gets shot off really quick. Um, but yeah, she'll be awesome looking, even if she does get shot off, even if she doesn't, you know, if they unbind her spell, she'll still look awesome, and that's what really matters to me. So, uh, all right, well, I think that's going to be it for me. I was planning on going about an hour, so I think I'll wrap it up here. Really appreciate you guys sticking with me, and anyone who's watching this back later, let me know. You know, I guess I'll post this as a video, although I don't know what I'm doing, so I don't know if it just does that automatically. But yeah, if you're watching back later, or if you watched live, you can go back and comment on the video. How are you liking the Sylvaneth now? What are your projects that you're working on? This is where I'm at, getting my Kurnoth Hunters done, my Dryka done, and my Tree Lord, and then I'll have a full army to bring to the game store and play. So that'll be it for me. Really appreciate you guys. Merry Christmas, and look forward to more videos coming out soon. So take care. Bye.